Okay. Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. I ask Allah to give us the sincere intentions. We are doing this lillahi ta'ala, obviously for um, the reward so we can worship Him better, inshallah. So in this session today, we will continue with the examples of blasphemous beliefs, and then we will dive into one example of a blasphemous actions and what that means. So the author said, so okay, yeah. So the author said, denying the companionship of our master Abu Bakr, may Allah raise his rank. So the explanation is the companionship of our master Abu Bakr is mentioned explicitly in the Quran, and anyone who denies it is belying the Quran. So Allah said in Surah Tawbah, which means, or which this verse talks about the Prophet and his companion, that is Abu Bakr, who were both in the cave during the immigration of the Prophet from Mecca to Medina. So when the blasphemers became very close to them, the Prophet ﷺ told him to be calm because Allah was for him. So in this verse, it explicitly says that Abu Bakr is the companion of the Prophet. It says explicitly that the Prophet addressed him as his companion by the word sahibihi. So this companion is Abu Bakr, and there is no disagreement about it, no difference in opinion about it among the Muslims. So anyone who denies specifically his companionship is blasphemy. If one says no, his companion was not Abu Bakr, then this person is claiming that the whole nation is stray, and the whole nations are cheaters. So we're all basically liars. And this is blasphemy, of course. The scholar mentioned the companionship of Abu Bakr, specifically stated as a blasphemous belief because Allah mentioned his companionship in the Quran, but also denying the companionship who are known by necessity, like Umar, Ali, and Uthman, is also blasphemy because they are the ones who helped support and spread the religion, and they deserve that high standard. If it wasn't for them, the religion would not be preserved and spread. The author also said, denying in the heart the message of whomever is recognized by all Muslims as a messenger or a prophet. So the explanation is, there are messengers that all the Muslims know. They know that there are messengers sent by Allah. And that is, for example, Muhammad, Isa, Musa, Ibrahim, alayhim salam. If one denies the message of any of them, if one says that any of them is not a messenger, one blasphemes. The same judgment applies to the one who denies the prophethood of a person who is known among all the Muslims to be a prophet. So that person blasphemes by denying that even if this prophet is not a messenger. So as for the person whom the Muslim had difference in opinion about, is he a prophet or not? Is he only a pious Muslim? Like, who is he? If one denies his prophethood, the one who even denies his prophethood does not blaspheme. An example of that is Al-Khadr. Some few scholars said that he is not a prophet. He was a pious Muslim, a wali. However, most of the scholars said he was a prophet. This is what first comes to mind when one reads or hears the verses talking about him in the Quran or hadith of the Prophet talking about him, right? Because Allah said that, Qadr stated, which means, I do not do what I do out of my own opinion, ijtihad, which means I did it because Allah revealed it to me. وَمَا فَعَلْتُهُ, I'm not gonna say that ayah out of my head, I don't want to mess it up. But it's in Surah Al-Kahf. So likewise, and there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. It is mentioned that when Prophet Musa first met Al-Qadr, without meeting him before, Musa addressed Al-Qadr immediately by saying, Assalamu alayka, O Qadr. Al-Qadr replied, Assalamu alayka, O Musa. The Prophet Musa said, "Who informed you that I am Musa?" Al-Khadr replied, "The one who informed you that I am Al-Khadr." So that is, it was revealed to you that I am Khadr. It was also revealed to me that you are Musa. And so this is why most scholars say that Khadr was a prophet. And this is the reliable saying. So there's one issue, this is what the teacher says, that I want to talk about related to the subject. Someone might hear, for example, that Ilyas is a prophet. Then after a while, he forgets this information. Later, someone asks him, for example, is Ilyas a prophet? He might answer, I do not know. In this case, he is not judged as a blasphemer because he forgot. His case would be like the case who has never heard about prophethood. So to sum it up, as for those prophethoods that is not well known, like Sheath, and those upon whom the Muslims have disagreed on, such as Al-Qadir, Uzair, and Dhul-Qarnayn, the one who denies their prophethood is not judged as a blasphemer. So, as we mentioned, as for Al-Qadir, what is correct is that he is not merely a saint, but a prophet who is not a messenger. As for other two, so Al-Uzair and Dhul-Qarnayn, what is correct is that they are saints. The author also said, renouncing out of stubbornness a letter of the Quran, which is known by all the Muslims to be in it. So adding out of stubbornness a letter of the Quran, which is known by all Muslims not to be of it. So whoever objects to the text of the Quran, believing from his own opinions that a letter or more should be added or subtracted, blasphemes. So the explanation is that anyone who denies even one letter of the Quran, and this letter is known by all Muslims to be of the Quran, then this person blasphemes. That is, if he denies that letter after knowing that everyone among the Muslims know that this is from the Quran. So an example is if someone says there's no ha in Alhamdulillah. Similar to that is the statement narrated about a Libyan ruler. What he said was, when you recite قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ, do not say قُلْ. There is no need for it, just say هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. And this is blasphemy. So likewise, if someone adds a letter to the Quran believing that this is part of the Quran while one knows that all the Muslims deny that this letter would be from the Quran. So an example of that is someone says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Rather, they add a wal. So they would say, Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. And this one blasphemes if they do that. They're adding to the Quran what should not be there. Stubbornly, right? From out of pride, let's just say that. So on the other hand, for example, one might add a letter while reciting, or they might omit a letter. But this is not out of stubbornness, and it's not out of contradicting the truth, but it's out of ignorance. Because he thinks that this is how the reading is. So out of ignorance, he thinks that this is how the reciting is. In such a case, a person is not judged as a blasphemer, but he is sinful, because it is not permissible to recite the Quran with mistakes. And this is why one does not recite the Quran except after learning how to recite it from someone who is knowledgeable. The one who recites and commits mistakes while reading the Quran, because he did not learn before reciting, he is sinful, and ignorance is not an excuse for him. Also, if someone goes to school or without going to school, and so he learns from a teacher, he learns how to recite properly, but he later forgets how to pronounce. He forgets the rules. And this person, he is not entitled to read again before learning, He needs to relearn how to read the Quran and the rules before reciting. The author also said, an example as the next example, belying a message or ascribing an unbefitting attributing to him, making a messenger's name diminutive with the purpose of degrading him. So the explanation is that anyone who belies any of the prophets is a blasphemer, and this is clear. Belies. I think I said something else. So anyone who belies. So if a messenger comes with something and then a person says this is not true, it's such and such, this person becomes a blasphemer. If one contradicts or belies the messengers and what they came with. So likewise, the one whose attributes a disgusting or loathing attribute to any of the prophet, like to say so and so among the prophets was arrogant. And so if someone says so and so among the prophets had a hot temper, and out of that he would act out of wisdom, this is blasphemy. We took the attributes of the prophets, and we know that these are not befitting attributes to a prophet, because the prophets, what they do is they recite and they deliver the message, and they have to be perfect. They can't, because if they do something that is not befitting an attribute, then the message would not be accepted, and that is contradicting the religion. So for example, Sayyid Qutb mentioned in one of his books about Prophet Musa, he said that he used to act with no wisdom, so out of hot temper. So as if he said that Musa was a foolish person. This is only one among the many enormous mistakes in this man's Sayyid Qutb in his books. So he has many deviant things in his book. Okay. So he has many deviant sayings in his books. One of them is that he said any ruler who rules in who rules in other than what is mentioned in the Quran, he is a blasphemer, and it's legal to shed his blood, so i.e. kill him. And so, but he didn't stop there. He added to that all the people living under this ruler, are also blasphemers, and they are to be killed, and their belongings are to be taken. And he said this because they do not revolve against the ruler. So a lot of his followers, where they were killing and putting bombs without any discriminations, because they considered all the people other than themselves are blasphemers, and it's permissible to kill them, to shed their blood, and to take their belongings. Again, this is one of the signs of one of many misguidance in his books. And so, so if someone rules without the rules in the Quran, he is not a blasphemer, but he's a sinner, right? And so what he said uh is blasphemy, because that he even goes against that particular rule. So likewise, if anyone names a prophet a diminutive name, so he gives them a diminutive name with the purpose of degrading this prophet, he blasphemes. So some people might make the name of one of the prophets diminutive, which means it's to low, right? Make him low, or to degrade or to disrespect a prophet. So so some people might do that, which is to change the structure of the name by adding or by applying the rules of tasghir to denote a small version of that named one. And if this is okay, so this is not to degrade him, rather than out of endearment to show love to that prophet. So this is not blasphemy in this case, but it's not permissible to do that. So even with the intention of showing one love to a prophet, it is not permissible. So an example is naming Prophet Musa Huwasi, like little Musa, or Prophet Isa, little Isa. This is not blasphemy, but forbidding. It is blasphemy when one when done with purpose, with the intent in the heart of degrading him, that prophet. And then this, it would be blasphemy. The author also said, believing in the possibility of prophethood of someone after our Prophet Muhammad. The explanation is the one who believes that it is permissible religiously, that it is permissible that someone becomes a prophet, gets prophethood after Prophet Muhammad, والسلام, then this person blasphemes. So likewise, if he says, I don't know, or I doubt about this matter, maybe it's possible, maybe it's not possible, this person blasphemes. One has to be firm that the last prophet, the last one who got the revelation is Prophet Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam. This is so because the prophet said, which means I am the seal of the prophets, as it was narrated by Muslim. By Muslim. So the Qadis who claim that it's possibly the religious the Qadinainis, I don't know how to pronounce it, I'm sorry. So they claim that it's possibly religiously possibly for one to become a prophet after Prophet Muhammad. So they actually said Ghulam Ahmad was a prophet, and they said after his death, his son also became a prophet, and after the death of his son, so his grandson, they also said he's a prophet. So those people who follow Ahmad, Ghulam Ahmad, perverted the meaning of khatama, right, the seal. They said it does not mean last, it means decoration of the prophets, just like when one wears a ring to decorate his hand. So khatam. So this is how they misinterpret this hadith, and this misinterpretation does not comply with the Arabic language, and it does not comply with the rules of the religion. And like we said, it does not comply with the Arabic language. This hadith was said by the Prophet ﷺ to reflect his high status. What they said does not reflect that, because when one decorates his hand with a ring, he's taking care of his ring. So it shows the value of his hand, not his high status. So those people, they don't care about the truth. They perverted the meaning of the verse, and they perverted the rules and the meaning of the hadith. So also Al-Bukhari narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said that the people of Israel, this is the offspring of Israel, which is Prophet Yaqub. This is the name of Prophet Yaqub, is Israel. So that his offsprings, they were ruled by prophets. So when a prophet died, another one would succeed him. But I am the seal of the prophets, so no prophet shall come after me. And this is a hadith sahih. And this was narrated by Prophet Muhammad. So by this, we come to the end of the examples that we mentioned about the first type of apostasy, which is the apostasy of beliefs. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about what we went so far before we get into the apostate actions? Okay. And so the author said the second category of apostasy is the apostasy of action, which is prostrating to an idol, the sun or the moon, or prostrating to a human being with the purpose of worshiping it. As for prostrating to a human being out of salutations, it is sinful in our law, and not blasphemy. However, it was permissible in the law of the previous prophets. Okay, so the explanation. The second type of apostasy is apostasy with organs, so the actions. And an example of that, or the first example, is to prostrate to an idol. And an idol is everything that people make or made to worship. So whether it was made from iron, wood pieces, stones, or any other matter. So in the time of ignorance. Actually, some Arabs made idols out of dates, and later, if they got hungry, they would eat them. And so the one who betrays or prostrates to an idol becomes a blasphemer, is judged as a blasphemer without questioning his intention, regardless of his intentions. As long as he does that voluntarily, he is not forced by the threat of being killed, or the like. So the same rule applies to the one who prostrates to a fire, to the devil, or to the sun and the moon. So anyone who prostrates to anything, right, that was made by iron, wood, or um, a stone, right? So this person would be judged as a blasphemer regardless of his intention. Same thing that goes with the sun and the moon, and that's also um, that's mentioned in the Quran. And so such a person is judged as a blasphemer regardless of his intention. And he is, of course, not being forced. So likewise, anyone who does an action that all the Muslims agreed that such an action is only done by a blasphemer. So for example of that is for someone to wear a specific clothing, ring, and the like, which is specific to blasphemous religion, as in it's a symbol representation of that religion, then one goes mixing to their places of worship. And so such a doing is not done except by a non-Muslim. And this is by consensus. So if a Muslim does that, then he becomes non-Muslim. Okay, as for just entering the places of worship of other than the Muslims, this is not blasphemy. If it's not associated with something prohibited, it's not even prohibited even. But we are talking about the one who wears the specific signs of the religion and enters and mixes with them to that places of worship. Then this one becomes a non-Muslim. Yeah. As for prostrating to a man or a human being, there are details about this matter. So the one who portrays a human being to worship him is blasphemy, of course. So the one who prostrates, sorry, yeah. So the one who prostrates to a human being with the intention to worship him blasphemes. So as for one who prostrates to a human being out of salutation, this person is showing that he has a higher rank, or the one who does that does not blaspheme, because the angels prostrate to Adam, and had this been blasphemy, Allah would not have ordered them to do that. So Yusuf's father, the wife of his father, the brothers of Yusuf, they prostrated to Yusuf, and this shows that just prostrating to a person is not blasphemy. Blasphemy is to prostrate to a human being with the intention of worshiping this human being, that this action of prostrating to a Muslim to salute him, it was permissible in the previous sets of rules revealed to previous prophets. But in the rules of the Prophet Muhammad, والسلام, it's not permissible to prostrate to any human being, even to salute him. So during the Prophet's time, one of the companions traveled to an area of Sham. So Sham, during the area, the people were mostly Christians, and he found the people prostrating to the ruler or the rulers. So when he came back to Medina, he prostrated to the Prophet, and the Prophet asked him, why are you doing that? Then he answered, I found the people in Sham prostrating to their rulers, and you are more deserving of that than they are. The Prophet answered, do not do that. If I were to order anyone to prostrate to another human being, I would have ordered the wives to prostrate to their husband. This hadith shows that in the rules revealed to Prophet Muhammad والسلام, it is prohibited to prostrate to another human being, even out of salutation. So in the area of Sham, a man called Abdullah, and this was a couple years ago, less than 100, I believe, who originally came from Dagestan. He was a misguided person, and he had students who were also misguided. So once, four among the students of Abdullah, they surrounded him and they faced him from the four directions. So each one from a different direction, and they faced him, and then they prayed facing him. So they worshipped him. And of course, this is blasphemy. Um, and this is a story that the teacher said. So in Damascus, there is a grave of a woman from the offsprings of Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and her name is Zainab. So people go and visit her grave. So this is a person, okay. So the teacher says, once my two sisters went to visit a grave. This her grave, Zainab's grave. And they told me, so they told the teacher after they came back that with them there was a Shia woman and she was there and she wanted to pray. And she did not find a space to pray except that if she prayed in this particular space, her back would be to the grave. So the woman said, "How would I pray with my back turning back, to Zainab?" So what she did is that she turned to the grave and her back to the Qibla, and she prayed. So she worshipped Zainab, and she claimed that this is how it should be, and this is blasphemy. And so at the end of the lesson, there were some questions unanswered. So one question was, what if one goes into the street dressed in this outfit of another religion, but he does not go to their places of worship? The author said, or the teacher said, there's a difference of opinion about that among the scholars. Some said just that is blasphemy. So just wearing a cross, for example, is blasphemy. Others said no, just doing that is enormous sin, except if he believes that this is permissible, or if he believes that this is a blessing, right? So if someone would believe that a cross is a blessing, in this case, it would be blasphemy. And the second has more weight. The saying of the first one is said by some Hanafi scholars, and the second statement is said by some Hanafi and Shafi'i scholars. So another question was, John Paul died, and world leaders were invited from all over to attend the funeral, and there were many pictures in the paper of people who were known as leaders of the Muslim countries. What do we say about that? And the answer is just attending the funeral and the like without saying anything that goes against the religion or doing anything that contradicts the faith of Islam is not blasphemy. So attending the funeral of a non-Muslim to remind oneself about the issue of death and the like is not prohibited. But one cannot say, because they may say, "Oh, may God rest this soul." You cannot say, "Ameen." It's not. If one says that, then this is blasphemy because you contradict the religion. And even praying the way that they pray, is also blasphemy. We cannot do anything that contradicts the religion. Okay, so a note regarding to the previous story about Zainab. So if someone prays towards the Qibla and there's a grave in front of them in that direction of the Qibla, this is not blasphemy. But what happened with the woman is that she turned her back to the Qibla and faced the grave and claiming that this is how it should be. So this is complete and utter contradiction to the religion. So I know last week we had a question about the involuntary thought versus your own thought. I did not get a clear answer, and maybe I didn't ask properly. I didn't ask. So basically, I don't have an answer for that question. But inshallah, I will continue to investigate. I want to make sure that I'm really understanding what question I should be asking before asking the question. Okay, and so because I knew this class was going to cut short, I wanted if there's any questions, go ahead. But if there isn't any questions, I'm going to talk about an obligation of the heart. So I'm going to steal a little bit of your time if that's okay. There's no questions, and I'm gonna continue. Okay. So the reason I wanted to talk, if there's going to be any more extra time, I want to take this time with the obligations and the sins of the heart. And the reason why I want to focus on the heart and I want to continue to um, bring them up frequently because the heart is the core of a Muslim, right? If there's any trouble and anxiety, anything that a Muslim wants to fix, look at the source, and the source is the heart. And that even equals if you want to change your actions, if you are sinning a lot, why are you sinning? If you fix your heart, then everything, all the organs in your body will also be fixed. Okay. So among the obligations of the heart, the first one is to firmly believe in the existence of Allah as befits Him. So this, along with the belief in the messenger of Allah, is the foundation of all obligations. And to believe in what Allah revealed, which means to believe uh, in all the divine orders, prohibitions, and tidings. Okay, so to take the first statement, to firmly believe in the existence of Allah as befits Him, along with the belief in the messenger. We obviously know that this is the Shahada. So without it, without having this firm belief in the heart, a person cannot even be Muslim. And then the second part is to believe in what was revealed, the Quran and the Hadith, the orders, the prohibitions, and tidings. But something I really want to emphasize specifically about the obligation of the heart, specifically in the existence of Allah, is to have certitude and conviction in the attributes of Allah also. So we first talked about the 13 attributes, which are like he's the one who creates and he doesn't have a beginning and he does not have an end. His knowledge is everlasting, his sight is everlasting, and his hearing is everlasting, and he is not like the creation. To have 100% conviction of that in your heart, this is an obligation because once you know this and you memorize this and you hold firmly to it, if anything, let's say specifically waswas from shaitan that comes, or an image is implemented in your mind, or the like, then you would know this is not truth, that I do not believe this. And so having that conviction is very important because if you don't say, I don't believe this, if you don't brush it off, and then they fall into it without realizing, then one blasphemes, especially if they're slipping and they don't actually recognize what they're saying or their statement, and they kind of like let themselves sleep and they follow those waswas of shaitan, then this is when it becomes blasphemous. So to have the conviction between yourself and the logic, and we talked about that in those 13 attributes, and to always think of what you're seeing as the creation. And so always reminding yourself of that is very important to battle the waswas and to stay confirmed, to believe firmly in the religions and to stay on the deen. And another part of that, the existence of Allah as befits Him and his attributes, we want to also think about the 99 names of Allah. We have to have 100% conviction and certitude that Allah is merciful. Allah is the one that provides. Allah is the one that protects. Also, Allah does not break His promise. So also fear what He is saying. And Allah is the one that creates everything. And Allah is the manager and controller of everything. And why is this important to actually have conviction in the 99 names, which are also attributes of Allah? I think I can say that. Because when one is in hardship, and anxiety is coming and fear is coming and a lot of worries are coming. If you have this conviction in your heart, then you become calm. Your body relaxes, your mind relaxes, and doors will open up. By having this conviction that I guess I can't find a job, but Allah is the one that provides, you would also protect yourself from sinning, from going out and doing haram job, or even taking an easy route. Let's say, oh, like there's a guy um that I want to marry, but it's very sketchy, but I'm scared. Who's gonna provide for me? Let me just go ahead and take this. No, you say Allah will provide. I'm not gonna put myself in a risky situation that does not make sense because for finances. So what this does also, it protects you from making decisions out of fear. So continue to have this conviction in the heart, and it's an obligation. So what does that mean? It means you're not allowed to be afraid. At least that's how I'm taking it. I'm not allowed to be afraid because Allah is the one who controls everything. Allah's will is what opens doors and what closes doors, right? He is the manager and he is the controller of everything. So why would I put my hope, my reliance in other than Allah? Also means if I have a problem, I should go ask the one that opens and closes doors. I should ask the one that changes situations. Why am I asking the people? And I should consult, i.e. do salat istikhara, about the one that knows everything. So everything, if you write this obligation on your heart, subhanallah, the connection between you and your religion, the connection between the ibadah and what happens in your life grows to the positive, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. And if it doesn't, let's say the worst thing that happens, first and foremost, you had the conviction of that. And second of all, you die on that conviction. So even if the worst thing that happens, you're like, okay, well, Allah will this for me. So you accept it. You did everything that you could possibly do, right? And this also includes, taking the means and, applying for the jobs and asking people and being patient and being calm. You do what you have to do. But the first part is also very important. Subhanallah, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, we can stop right here. We have 1 more minute left. So I think I went a little bit overboard. But inshallah, implement this rule in your heart. If there is any questions, let's say tahleel and salatu ala nabi. لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. بارك الله فيكم. جزاك الله خير. Thank you so much for your time. I Girl, thank you. I appreciated it too. Barakallahu fiki. Because these are so good to the heart. We're gonna end soon. It's gonna cut us off. Okay. Oh, Assalamu alaikum. Yes, but subhanAllah, it will. Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Okay, Allah. Assalamu alaikum. I can